Fortunately, no police or military were on hand at the Bogota airport to react to my foolhardy tomfoolery.
Oh, there's our luggage.
Soon after landing in the city, Che and Alberto would part ways. It would be 8 years until they would meet again, the young Ernesto, by then the revolutionary Che. By the end of this journey, Che believed in an armed uprising against poverty. His chance to do battle would come in the Cuban Revolution in 1956, against the United States-backed dictatorship of Fulgencio Batista. On an overloaded diesel cruiser, 82 rebels crossed the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean to land in Cuba. 3/4 were either killed or captured in the First Army attack, where Che made the fateful decision to take up arms and leave his role as a doctor behind. From that baptism of fire, the revolution grew. With Che amongst the rebels' core leadership, success quickly spread from the Sierra Maestra mountain range until the decisive victory in Santa Clara, outnumbered 300 to 4,000. On January 2nd, 1959, Che entered Havana unopposed. Fidel followed victorious 6 days later.
Well, we finally made it to Cuba in Havana today. I must say it feels pretty awesome. It's a wonderful place and has a great vibe and energy to it.
There's no doubting the vibrance of Cuba, whether expressed through dancing, drinking, food or music. I left Garnet to the food and dancing. At the old drinking hole of Ernest Hemingway, I focused on the drinking and the music. As disgusted as I was at the lack of civil rights, freedom of speech, association, movement and the press, there is an ignorant bliss in the country and an outlet through music. Music is everywhere, in every bar, restaurant, cafe and nightclub. It's all infectious, yet ironic.
Because they're so repressed, the spirit of the people's come through, and you see that in the way that they play their music and the arts that are around. But basically, apart from playing music and playing ball, they're not free to do anything. And yeah, it's really starting to feel suffocating.
I was glad just to experience Havana after a lengthy interrogation at the airport, only made worse when the officials discovered notes in my diary about Che. The city could easily be a setting for a Back to the Future movie. A DeLorean would be just as out of place on these streets as in mid-50s Hill Valley, California. That said, it is very cool. A parade of pre-revolution yank tanks cruising through the city time forgot.
So on my way to Plaza de la Revolution. Check out some monuments to Che and the other Cuban heroes from the revolution.
Along with the iconic image of Che is fellow rebel leader Camilo Cienfuegos. Tragically, he also died too young. Also bordering the plaza is a monument to Jose Marti, the father of Cuba's bid for independence against Spain.
There's no place like Havana, Cuba to show how Ernesto Guevara, the man, turned into Che Guevara, the legend, and in many ways the myth.
Despite all that Che stood for, Cuba is not a free country. His memory and image and relics of the revolution have been appropriated and misused to help prop up a dictatorship. Despite criticism of the government, the vitality of the people cannot be suppressed. With our journey nearly at an end, we continued inland to Santa Clara, scene of Che's pivotal against all odds victory. The remnants of the revolution still remain, including the train carriages Che had derailed to intercept Cuban army soldiers and weapons, and even in the main square, the Santa Clara Hotel, still punctured with bullet holes. Most importantly, in Santa Clara lies the final resting place of Ernesto Che Guevara. His body only returned 30 years after his murder in 1967.
It's been an amazing trip through South America. Very inspiring.
I guess the great thing to remember is not to think about so much Che and judge him by Cuba, but to remember him as the person that really was able to do anything. And with his youth, as he travelled across South America, you got to see his true passion for the people and his true commitment to the people. and also his true belief that, you know, he could put his mind to anything and achieve anything. And he proved that here in Santa Clara, you know, taking on a battalion and winning it with you know, just a few platoons of men.
Cuba may have been the worst place to finish our journey, though this was never about defending Che or his legacy, or even telling his story. It was about experiencing the journey that made him who he was, and that we did.
In the name of